Just felt every piece that she played, and she would ask so many questions. And I know how many times I would say to her, Nina, music is a universal language. If you learn it and loving it as you apparently are, the sky is the limit for you. And that's exactly what did happen. She went to Detroit, she taught the Ford children, and she would write to me and she'd say, do you know what I'm getting for a lesson? $20. How well, she says, I remember the 50-cent lessons, and sometimes my dad couldn't afford them, and you wouldn't let me stay home. You made me come regardless. You didn't, you know. And so she died not too long ago with cancer, and the people in Detroit wanted to establish a memorial room, and they asked me to send them a letter about Nina first starting with her music lesson. So I did. I sent them a letter and just told how vibrant she was, how much she loved her music, and I just felt that she would soar high. I still have students that stop at the house. They come with their children, and I say, this is my music teacher. They don't say, this is my old music teacher. So I just take it from there and enjoy every bit of it. And I wanted to help the students that were especially interested in majoring in music.
Do you remember your first student after you were teaching at the school, like when you branched out for yourself?
You know, I would say that Nina and some of the children from my own immediate area, when I first started, were the ones that but as to the absolute first one, I just don't remember the absolute first one, because I had taught with Sister, and it was just like a melting into something that you're already doing. Mm-hmm. But I had quite a few students over the year, and to this day, they will stop me whether I'm at the mall or whether I'm at Melman's. Joseph and I, and Jana and her mother, I see them every once in a while, and I'll see. And Butch never comes back to Shadyside, but what he doesn't stop in with his family and see me. And Nina used to do that too, and Herman, so many of them. And Herman went to Florida and headed a band in Florida and just did beautifully. And Butch is music instructor up near the northern tip of the Michigan peninsula there, and has done beautiful work with these orchestras and these choral groups. Another student I taught every year for about 15 years now, Tommy, has taken his group from Coshocton over to Europe. And 1 year it was to Russia, 1 year to France, 1 year to just different places. And they tell you about it, and you get just as excited as they are about it.
Did you play other instruments beside the piano?
Myself, I played the organ and the piano. Now, George took the violin. Mm-hmm. Edmund played the saxophone, the piano, and the organ. Mel, just the trumpet. We called it the cornet, the trumpet. And Charles, the piano and the organ. Joseph took rarely few lessons, but he would sit and listen to me teaching at our home, and he absorbed all those things, and he did, you know how beautifully he plays. So it's really something.
Did you teach any of the other instruments?
Oh yes, I taught organ for years, and I still would help anybody that wanted help to play organ, like to play for services or to play, for a recital or anything. I'd be glad to help them. But when we were at 19th Street, when we lived down there, and when all of us would get together on us, and of course you left your doors open then, there was no problem. You didn't have to worry about shutting your doors or locking your doors. We would play, and the whole neighborhood would sit out and listen to the Sarguses playing, whatever it would be. But
North.
my dad, so often, his favorite was the harmonica. And he would take that harmonica, Elizabeth, and play it with such feeling, and he would always climax whatever he was playing with "Home, Sweet Home." Be it ever so humble, there's no place like home. And that was his favorite. That really was something. And Mom would just sit and she would just be content and happy to hear everybody going.
Did you play as like an orchestra, the family?
Pardon?
Did you play like as an orchestra, the family?
Yes, that's what we would do. And as I said, we didn't have to worry about locking doors or anything while we lived there. Doors were wide open and the whole neighborhood would just hear us playing, and they missed us as we spread out. It was something really. Growing up.
You were telling us yesterday you worked in the store. You kept focusing on the checks out.
When we were in grade school, George and I both, every Saturday without fail, it took them much longer to write than because we had been taught writing, and you know the penmanship. So George and I, on weekends, he started before I did, of course, would write all the checks that had to be paid. The Endicott Company, the Charles Sled Company, Robrecht, this one or that. And to this day we see their name, whether it's on shoes for the Endicott Company or candies from the Sled Company and vegetables and produce from Robrecht. We still see those companies in business, see their trucks traveling the roads. But we would write all the checks, and then we would mark on the invoice the date of the check and the number of the check. And of course, whoever signed the check, we never signed the checks. We completed them, to whom they were to be paid, the amount to be paid, and then we would write out the amount to be paid. And either my father or my uncle would say, Sargus Brothers, that's how the account was, Sargus Brothers, and then whoever was signing the checks would do it. We did that for years, and of course that was an education in itself.
Yeah. How long did the family have the store?
We had a store until about 1926, and we went through some terrible floods. No, wait a minute, we moved, no, we had it longer than that. But because in 1936, when we had the large flood, in 1924 we moved from 19th Street store to a street next to where Bartaville's are now. It's an empty lot now. But Paul, I'm doing a lot of talking here, and you want to get going?
No, that's fine. That's fine.
It's
Almost done.
Getting back to when you were growing up, did you ever babysit or like that?
Not really. I never did that. Never. But now, like during the day, sometimes we would have friends come, and we would. But my mother would be there with me. You know what I mean? Not really. I never really did that. As you know, babysitting as such.
People didn't go out as much as they do now.
That's right. That's right. And we had a doctor friend as I was growing, and he operated on me at the house. And this doctor died in our house. He was a very close friend of the family. And he asked my father that he would like to have a drink of water. And of course, he got so he was drinking just a little bit too much. But Dad never faltered. Dad and Mom made him always that he could come to our house and feel free to sit and talk with us and so on. But he directed her to a wonderful doctor in Wheeling, and he took care of our family. In fact, he operated on me when I had pleurisy pneumonia. And his daughter and his sons and those were always friends, even after he died. Dr. Pearsall, an old doctor, family doctor.
What's pleurisy pneumonia?
What?
What's pleurisy pneumonia?
Is inflammation or, you know what mucus looks like? All right. It sort of gathers into the pleural, or into your, down through here, really, yes. And it becomes, you get a high fever, and your mother could probably tell you more about, but nevertheless, to drain that, he had to insert a tube in my side here. I'll never forget it, even as a youngster. That was before I went to school. And they inserted a tube here to have it to drain, because if that didn't drain, it became poisonous, and serious things could have really happened. But it was really something growing up. And we still, when we see those people from South Blair, it's just like seeing family, because we all, everybody took care of each other, and we didn't have to worry about locking our doors or anything. And if anybody needed help, everybody came together to help them.
Too bad it's not like that now.
It is. It really is. They're missing something, really. I don't know, but growing up was really something. It was really something. My mother was a fantastic person. She had wisdom. She had patience. She was kind, loving, and knew just what to say and when to say it. Just like in that example of Father Charles, you know, she knew just how to direct. And of course, I think all mothers are that way.
Yeah.
All mothers, that's it.
How did your parents die?
My father died October 1937. My mother died in November 1971. And what really got to my mother was my brother Edmund's death. She was never the same after Edmund died, and then his wife Betty died. And she was never the same. Now, Edmund died, I think, in '67, and his wife Betty died in '70, and my mother died in '71. But Father Charles kept saying to her, "You've got to live through my 25th anniversary." And she did. And she had a lovely affair for him. We had a lovely affair for him. And that was in September. And in November, she died.
We have a picture of that event upstairs
We do?
with she and Uncle Charles and Father Eddie.
Oh, and Father Eddie.
Oh yeah, that picture.
It's really something. It was something. As I was saying to her, Mom had all the wisdom and patience. She didn't need book learning. She didn't need a bit of book learning. She knew what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. And she sure did all through the years. She knew how to see us through it all. And as we were growing up, now, George liked to golf. Edmund and Mel, Edmund especially enjoyed tennis. Now, Mel didn't enjoy tennis as much as Ed enjoyed it. Mel was more toward golf, too. But whoever was going away or whoever was going, they took all the tennis or all the golf, all the good shirts, and they would just, "Oh, no, Mom, this isn't, he can't take this." But Mom said, "Well, now, he's the one that's going to have to need it." And so she worked it out with them, you know. Was how things change. You don't.
Yeah.
We had just come through the Depression, and that was rough, really. You owned property, and you had, but you didn't have actual cash. And it was rough, but it was an experience I think that we all benefited by. The boys found out they had to work while they were in college.
Were you able to teach through the Depression?
I did. That's why you couldn't raise the prices or anything.
Mhm.
It was a long time before I was getting $1. A long, long time.
Good.
And when I quit, the most I was getting was $4. Can you imagine it? I never raised it. I just kept it there. And as I said, I just let the class dwindle. I didn't
Yeah.
take any more on. And I would get a few calls, but I just said, well, I'm not teaching. But it's been a fascinating life. And as I say, I wouldn't change one day of it, Paul. And I thank God for my mother and my father. They were terrific.
Yeah. Here comes Ann. Let's ask Ann if she has any questions before we want to.
Oh, I think she's been
Finish.
listening. I don't think she.
I'm listening.
She's
How you?
been listening. Why don't you just turn it off?
Oh,
Turn it
how?
off.
I got it. So that.
But it has really been something, Paul.
Am
I supposed to look at you, dear?
You can look at me or
Oh.
Elizabeth. It's what? This is Wednesday,
November the 27th,
1991.
91.
Okay. Why don't you start by telling us your name? Then Elizabeth will pick up with her questions.
Mary Catherine Sargus is my name.
All right. What's your first question, madam?
Could you tell me about your family when you were growing up? Like what your life was like and your brothers and sisters?
I was third oldest in a family of 8. I have 2 older brothers, a younger brother and 4 younger sisters. It was just, quiet. Growing up, lived in a suburb of Pittsburgh, went to the local Catholic grade school, then to the local public high school. And I didn't do anything spectacular in school. We didn't have games, what do you call them? Oh,
Clubs?
we didn't have teams to play baseball like you children do today, baseball. Boys had their football, but we didn't have traveling teams. We played volleyball and all that stuff in school, knew how to do it, but we didn't have teams in those years. And I graduated from high school, got a job working in an office, went to night school.
To do what? Why were you going to night school?
Well, I won a scholarship, and I had to have the job, so they applied it to night school.
Where were you going to night school?
Grace Martin Cornelius in downtown Pittsburgh. Went
That's
to
where my
night
mother
school.
went.
Pardon?
You know, my mother went there.
Did she? We
Yeah.
could have been going. No, we didn't go at the same time, because I played hooky most of the time. I graduated from school, from high school, and in the classes that they were teaching me at the night school, came better prepared for them than they were teaching me. So they weren't teaching me anything new. I already had more speed than they could come up with in shorthand, and did better in the typing and everything. So I fooled around most of the time there. When I was growing up, in the summers we visited relatives in Indiana. One of those summers, my mother was killed in an automobile accident on the way back, and we didn't go visit like that anymore. But we went family picnics about every Sunday in the summertime.
Where did you go? South Park or?
No, we went away from Pittsburgh. I remember going to Idlewild, Ligonier. Took us half the day to get there. Nowadays you can go in a few hours.
Yeah.
We had a great time. We went to Idlewild, and it wasn't nearly like it is today. It was a very small place. It wasn't the extra rides or anything. But where we went to was Ohio Falls, which is
South of Pittsburgh.
And it was another nice place. I don't know whether it's been built up since then or not. I kind of lost track. It was fun. We liked to go out in those rocks and wade in it. It was above the falls. We went in the shower, water above the falls.
What kind of car did you have? Did everybody fit in a seat?
We had a Chandler, and we had jump seats. And 3 of us sat there. 2 of us sat in the jump seats with the basket of food between us. 3 of us had to sit there though. If there were 8 of us, and one always sat in front with my mother and father, and the rest behind me. We didn't have seat belts either in those days. The Chandler's a big car, and we all fit in it.
Did you ask the names of your brothers and sisters?
My oldest brother, James, the next oldest is Richard, and then my sister next to me is Gertrude, and then my brother Joe, and my sister Catherine and Peggy and Alice. Joe and Peggy died this summer. Joe in May and Peggy in July.
Okay.
And you're not supposed to have lapses on these things, you know, dear.
Elizabeth's
The audience goes wild.
Elizabeth's next question says, how did you meet Grandpa?
Well, I worked at the wholesale office of Goodrich Tire and Rubber Company in Pittsburgh, out here incidentally in Ball Boulevard. It's not there anymore, is it, Paul? We decided it wasn't there anymore.
It's a car dealer now.
It's a car dealer or something now, yes. And when the war came along and took the rubber for the war, all the tires, we built synthetic rubber plants. And all the tire companies, Goodrich and Firestone and Goodyear and a couple others, went together with the builders, Blahnox, a few others, to build these plants. And Goodrich moved out. Well, they had nothing to sell. They had to move out of their wholesale office. And we rented the, what do you call it? We call it Motor Square Garden
Yeah,
up the street. What do you call it here now?
Motor Square Garden still.
It's still Motor Square Garden. It had cars in it, and all the cars were gone. So we had our offices there. It's a huge place. We had people from each of the companies, each of the rubber companies. There were different offices with different men. I worked for the government, Defense Plant Corporation. I was on Goodrich payroll, but my boss was the top guy of the whole thing. He was in charge of everything. We had all the purchase orders for everything cleared through him. And as whenever you have government spending, you have government auditors. And that's where Grandpa came in. That's where I met him. We used to call him the Mad Russian because he used to rush back and forth. You know, silly women.
Pacing.
Yeah. He was always in a hurry, always in a big hurry. He audited first was the builders, Blahnox and those people, WHMS, before they left town.
Where was he living then?
He was living in Webster Hall, I think it was. He was living.
But he had moved to Pittsburgh.
He moved to Pittsburgh from, let's see.
Family
he
was in
knew-
Shadyside or Bel Air then?
Oh, his family was always in Bel Air, in South Bel Air there, you know. I'm trying to think. Well, he came back from New York and tried to get in the service, and of course, you know, he didn't weigh enough and he wouldn't take him at all. So then he knew this one guy, I can't remember his name right now, but I think he told him about the job for the government. He was a government auditor. He got his job through Washington, D.C., I think.
When and
When
where
he applied for the job, he asked for $4,800 a year. And that was a lot of money then. Imagine he asked for $4,800 a year.
Did
Did
they
he
give
get
it
it?
to him?
I can't remember.
When and where did you get married?
We got married in 1944, the 16th of October in St. Bernard's in Mount Lebanon.
Was it a big
And
one?
Grandpa, in the meantime, moved to Mount Lebanon after we started going together. He lived near me in Mount Lebanon, Bradwell Road.
Where did you live then when you got married?
What's the other boulevard?
Bigelow.
Was it Bigelow Boulevard we lived on?
Boulevard of the Alamo.
I think Bigelow Boulevard.
That's this one going into town.
But it was on out. I can show you exactly where we lived, near a big bridge.
Bloomfield Bridge.
Yeah. Would it be, no, it was kind of a, I'll have to straighten this out with you, Paul, where it was. You can see that it was like a row of houses. They were all connected. Each house, there was about 6 or 8 of them, they were all alike, they shared a common wall.
Then how long did you stay there? You went to Spain eventually.
We got married in 44 and went to Spain in, we got married in October. He went to Spain in July and I followed him in October. What are you looking for, dear?
And Erie.
Oh,
Why did he have to go to Spain?
oh, he was, the government sent him over there on a mission, on a regular
Assignment.
assignment,
And how long were you there?
auditing again. We were there a year, almost a year.
And what part of Spain was that?
Madrid.
How did you like that?
Oh, that was great. It was great living over there because we kind of had things were so inexpensive. For instance, we had a maid and a cook. You had to have one or the other. And they did everything, and you didn't pay them very much. You had to feed them, though, of course. So we'd say that they were live-ins, some of them, not all the time. But they were there all day, every day, so you had to feed them 3 meals a day. They were very pleasant people. I liked living over there, but I would never stay there permanently.
How did you get along with the Spanish
Fine.
language?
Oh, me, I only knew the present tense of most of the verbs. I had a terrible time, but evidently some of those people kind of have a knack of picking up what you're trying to say,
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, when I was going over, I went over alone. Grandpa was already over there, and I went alone on a boat. And it wasn't a ship, it was a boat. First day out, we left from Philadelphia. Going down whatever river you go down out of Philadelphia. You don't get seasick, but,
Schuylkill.
get
Schuylkill to the Delaware.
get out of in the ocean, and the next morning I got out of bed and I didn't have a chance not to be seasick. I put my feet on the floor and that was it. So I didn't know what to do. The lady in the room with me was terrible. She was really violently ill. I didn't throw up. I just had, I just felt like I was just plain seasick. But anyway, the steward knocked on the door, and I got out of him fresh air. Is that aqua pura? That's fresh water. Well, I got out of him. He got out of me that I was sick, and I got out of him if I got upstairs on the fresh air, I'd feel better. We made it, so I did. I went out. And I had remembered what I was told, not to drink and eat at the same time. That if I went out, I was sick, to go get something solid, like a plain roll or toast, and not to drink tea or coffee with it. And I did that, and I was fine. After that morning, I was fine. I ate every meal, and you get a lot of fish, and I enjoyed it. And I could even go, in fact, there were some children on the boat, and their kids wanted to go to watch the boat go through, be in the front of in the prow of the boat and watch it cut through the waves. None of the mothers could do it. I, who had started out seasick, was the only one that could do it. The woman that was in the cabin with me remained actively sick the whole time. That's why I didn't stay in the cabin at all. She was always throwing up. But it took, I forget. I know I spent the 16th of October, my anniversary, my first anniversary, on the boat, alone. Because my grandpa was still over there. But I had a surprise when I went over there. I thought he was going to meet me at a certain, I'd have to show you on the map, but he met me in Coruña, the first place we stopped in, is Portugal, isn't it?
Oh.
Yeah. And he was there. I was worried about, I was just standing, what I was doing, I can still remember. I was leaning over the side of the boat, watching them load more fish on the boat down in the hold. And all of a sudden I heard a voice, Mary. Mary looked over, and there was Grandpa standing there. Well, then I almost lost it. I had to get my trunk out of the, wherever they put it in the ship. And I couldn't speak a word, of Spanish. And this one a fellow that was in our group was a Spaniard, and he was going back home for a while. And he took care of everything for me. Just went to got the steward and everything, took care of the whole bit. Went right through. But it was going, and I don't remember too much of the weather. Was nice. It wasn't cold. It was pleasant in October. It was pleasant traveling. And I didn't sit on the deck much. I don't like the water. And I wasn't afraid. I just don't like it. I suppose if I was on a liner now and thought of that little dinky thing we were on then, I probably would have been if it didn't know. But then I was younger too. I wasn't that afraid of. But I didn't.
So you came back in 1945?
46 we came back.
To where?
To Belair. Right to Belair.
Well, Dad worked in Cleveland for a time.
Yeah.
He commuted?
And he commuted, yeah. I saw him every weekend. And the night Mary Jo was born was the first night I had met him at the train. And meeting him at the train in Belair is gone now. The train station, he came in and he was on like a third floor of the station, a third floor of a house, and he had to walk down to the street. And Uncle George said, well, you're not going there, try climbing all those steps. So as soon as I wasn't there to meet him, he knew something was going, that Mary Jo was due, was due delivered. So came home and ate something to eat, and we went over to the hospital.
Where have you lived since you were married?
I have lived in the present house. I've been married, dear. It was 46 years.